Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's pre-market prep, brought to you by MarketVi. I'm your co-host Joel Alconin, along with Brianna Valesky. We have Greg Harmon on the line, founder of Dragonfly Capital Management. Greg has more of 25 years of trading experience. Greg, how did you come up with the name Dragonfly Capital Management?
It's twofold. One, I really like dragonflies. I watch them flying around and see the different colors of them. But then two, more related to the marketplace, is there's a Japanese candlestick pattern called the Dragonfly Doji. And the Dragonfly Doji is a candlestick where the price opens at the high, dips down lower, and then closes back at that high at the same level. So it's a pattern that can be used on in a bottoming formation to buy without any confirmation.
Okay. All right. Before we go into your topics here, do you have your screens up? Are you taking a look what's happening to Michael Kors here? The stock had hit an all-time high back over $100, I think, last year. Really disappointing the street now, just getting annihilated now at the $50 level. Is this something that you might, put on your screen and keep an eye on, or are you just going to let the Bulls and the Bears, well, the Bears are kind of winning the battle here. Any take on Michael Kors?
Yeah. Well, we actually looked at it for the premium trading account yesterday, and I recommended doing a 1x2 put spread on it. When I took a look at this stock, I saw falling wedge, and falling wedge can often be a reversal, but if it breaks out to the downside, that could be huge damage, and that's what we're seeing here. That falling wedge had about a $15 move out of it, and we're down 10.5 at the moment. So maybe another $5 to go.
Whew.
Yikes!
So did you put it on, or was it just something that you put out there for your followers?
I did not actually.
Could you explain what a 1x2 put spread?
I put it out there for.
Oh, okay. Could you explain what you mean by a 1x2?
Yeah, I put it out for a 1x2 put spread is essentially buying a put spread. So buying a put and then selling a put at a lower strike. That's the put spread. But then if you make it a 1x2, you've actually sold two of the lower strike puts. You do that in instances where you want to lower the cost. But also where you might have an interest in buying the stock at that lower put strike, less the size of the spread. So we had talked about a 60-57 put spread, which would put you in the stock at 54. Would not look so good right now, but there are certain ways to deal with that. You can roll that short 57 extra 57 put out and down to a lower strike and give yourself some more time to.
Yeah, so if you if you did the 60-57 and then you sold another put lower, what would be the lower strike would you sell there? Is it like a 53 or 54, or do you wait to put that one on?
Well, we recommended yesterday doing the 57 twice.
Okay.
To make it a 1x2.
Okay. All right, gonna get the stock a little bit above where it's trading here, but see if it can get a rebound. You see, you're interested in commodities here, and boy, is gold ever going to return to its heyday here? Been range bound? Is that how you're trading the gold here? Taking the heat if it gets back over 1,200. 1,200 seems to be a magnet. We crossed it several times here. Just hovering above the all-time lows here. What's your take on the gold market?
Gold, made that peak back in 2011, kind of went sideways for a little bit and started falling off, but it's been sideways for 2 years, 2.5 years now, essentially. Maybe the range is tightening a bit, so maybe it's going to do something at some point, but to me it looks like it is range bound, and it's a wide range between like 1140 and 1300, but I'm not really interested until it's outside of that range. I suppose you could sell straddles or strangles at this point with those levels in mind, but it's not really interesting to me.
Okay, what about the crude oil market? We did finally got a rebound off the mid 45s here. got back into the 60s. Now right back down in the 50s. Do you expect some range-bound trading here in crude oil, or are we headed back for the lows?
Yeah, it's an interesting chart because you had that kind of double bottom kick in at 45, and the chart moving back up towards what could have got some bulls really excited, maybe forming the W up at 105, but it ran into some trouble right at the top of the Bollinger Bands, right at the top of the volatility measures. If you look at a weekly chart, also the RSI just moving back to the midline, it wouldn't cross it. So I think it's at a critical point right here, and that if it can't get over 62-ish in the next couple of weeks and stay there, maybe you do see it retrace back down to 45 or more.
Okay, moving on to the dollar here. Had some movements. Everyone's waiting to see what the Fed's going to do. It looks like June and off the table now for raising rates. Perhaps September here. What's your outlook? I'm looking at the U.S. dollar bullish ETF here. Had the nice run up, peaked in March, pulled back. What's your outlook for the U.S. dollar?
Yeah, my outlook since last summer has been bullish for the dollar, and I think what we saw happening in the pullback from March through to a couple of weeks ago was just a healthy retracement of some of that move. Moved back essentially 38.2%, a key Fibonacci level, and it's moving back higher now. If it measures out at the AB equals CD equivalent, you could see 120 in the dollar. That's a long ways off, and we've got to get through 100 first before we do that. But it certainly turns the corner from that view that many hoped last week that maybe this was a dead cat bounce to being a strong confirmation of a renewed move higher.
Okay. And you're looking at some of the other commodities. One of the softs here, coffee. What's your take on coffee?
Yeah, coffee had a horrible 3-year stand from 2011 to the beginning of 2014, and then just popped up back up to the 42 level. Since then, beginning late last year and beginning of this year has fallen back now, and it's also at one of those critical levels where it could be making a double bottom here in the low 20s. I'd say from the chart, the Bollinger Bands say that this thing could still head a lot lower. And if you look at a measured move there, it's ridiculous. It says it goes below zero. That's not going to happen. It only happens in German bonds, right? But the momentum indicators are at the point where they are looking ripe for a reversal, especially if you look at the MACD on a weekly chart, has started to round back up. And although that didn't seem to matter the last time it did it in 2012, if you see the RSI start to move back up as well, it might be something that gets interesting.
Okay. All right. We got a couple of issues coming out of the chat I wanted to get your take on. The first one coming out of the chat, one I haven't really seen that much or followed, BYD. Could you give us your technical take on BYD?
BYD, Boyd Gaming.
Boy Yellow David. BYD, is that coming up here? Boyd Gaming Company, kind of a sleepy stock here. I know that the casino stocks have been hit pretty hard. This is probably a component of that here. What do you think? Clears 14. Just have some chance on the upside. Any take on BYD?
Yeah, I think maybe 1470 is the level there, but and it could be heading back to that level now. It's got good strength and momentum, moving it back higher off of that interim low to end April. But what's interesting is this also had a rising wedge that you think it might break down going from November into February. And rather than break down, it just moved sideways out of it. It just morphed into a consolidation channel. Okay. So, if it gets over 1470, you could probably have some interest in being long this stock.
Okay, here's one a little bit more fun to analyze, perhaps. AAOI. Applied Electronics, AAOI. What do you think of this chart?
This one certainly broke out a couple of days ago. It's going to be, if it continues higher, it's going to be establishing some coincident cup and handle patterns. At the moment here, moved higher on strong volume, it looks like yesterday, and I don't know, did it report or something? That looks like some very strong volume. Momentum indicators show it to be a bit extended. That may be working back off today, and it's outside of the Bollinger Band, so maybe it gives you a chance to get back in at the 1650 level or so.
Yeah, Raymond James maintains a strong buy on the company yesterday, raises the price target all the way to $26. They got excited. A thinner traded stock took it up yesterday on good volume. 1935 was the high yesterday, Rob Hood. 1918 close. Having trouble at the $19 level here, so I think I have to agree with Greg on here. A little bit of a pullback. I like to see it get back above 19 and close back above 19. Greg, okay, let's look at some of the other market movers here from this morning. Tiffany's surprised the street with some good earnings, was off to the races in the pre-market. TIF, you take a look at that one for us.
Yeah, that one's got a nice gap up out of a range, but has moved right to where the gap down happened in January. So if it's going to stall, this is probably a good place for it to stall. You might get an opportunity for it to consolidate here for a couple of days, and if it really continues to show strength, look for a gap fill. But if you got into this one ahead of earnings, congratulations. I might put a stop at 91 on this one just in case.
Yeah, I think I was dead wrong in the pre-market on this one because we had topped out over 92, and the momentum is carrying this stock up over 10%. So once again, if you're long Tiffany's, good call here because the S&Ps are falling out of bed here. We hit pre-market high 0975. We come down to, in the regular session, stalled at 0775 here, 02.5. That's your intraday low, pre-market low at 01.25 here. So Dennis's call a fade in this open here. Dennis, I hope you got some orders out there. Let's move on to some other stocks. Workday, big pre-market moving, shot up to 96, came down hard here. Is there any reason for traders to start getting a little bullish Workday?
I don't know about getting bullish Workday. I did see a lot of people had expressed interest at the 85 level yesterday, and let's see if they actually come in and buy it now that we're below 85.
Okay.
My screens, at least the interactive brokers, are showing that it's hard to borrow now, so that may prop it up a little bit, and it's outside of the Bollinger Bands. But it's really failed with that. With that report and the move higher and then the fail back is really just come back right into that range it's been in for a while between 77.50 and 96.
Okay. This one here, and I mean, it's hard to pick, bottoms here, and these stocks are falling out of bed like this, but I did notice just looking back, revisionist history, April 2nd, you had a low at 82.89. You're using that in a target in today's session, you would have been rewarded because it hit 82.63 and now bouncing back into the 84 handle. DSW, you ever buy any shoes there? Do you want to take a look at that chart?
Yeah, I looked at this yesterday and saw, what I see in this is that once it hit that bottom in May last year, it's kind of taken steps higher, but really, really long steps. So long consolidation ranges. And the last one, prior to the report last night, it was something like 125 days that had been just moving in a range. And it's moving back up today, but unless it gets some strength, it's really just back in that range. For the bulls, you could look at the strong move down yesterday and then the strong move up today from the same point, a bullish kicker candle. Maybe it's time to get on board. But until it gets above 3770-ish. It's really just stuck in a range. So if you're comfortable with the 36 level to 3760, it's a decent gain, but that may be what limits you.
Okay, let's just take a look. Hormel Foods buys Applegate Foods here, and they seem in the pre-market trading. HRL, they really seem to like that acquisition here. Stock traded in the pre-market trading, made a new all-time high, but looks like you've had some sellers come here in a regular session. What's your take on the maker of Spam, Hormel Foods?
Yeah, it does look like it's selling off here, strong to the downside since the open. That move did bring it back up to almost a triple top. So, a lot of people like to say that triple tops don't exist. So the trend may continue. At this point, 5-6 minutes into the session, all it's really done is move back into the Bollinger Band. So no real weakness here and good momentum indicators. It still looks like maybe you've got an opportunity to buy it at lower levels than the pre-market.
Before we let you go, Greg, just general thoughts on the market. We had a sleepy, 5-6 days of trading. Broke out to the downside yesterday, but got to 21.96. Buy the dippers come in, a decent close, kind of still hanging above the close in today's session. Any comments on the overall market?
Yeah, we've been in kind of a range-bound market, and we thought that last week that we broke the range by moving to the upside and just gave that back is what it looks like so far. Sentiment to me still seems kind of sketchy and skeptical that the market will go higher. I've written a couple things lately about what I'm looking for in terms of indicators that there's weakness. One this morning on the transports that looking for all the moving averages to roll over before I give up on the transports even. But the comments keep coming back that any move higher is a bull trap, or it should be lower because something, and the sentiment is still very strongly to the downside, I believe. So for me, it's still a bull market until we break through bottoms in this market. I think it's like 2040, something like that on the S&P that would get me to give up that stance.
Greg Harmon, founder of Dragonfly Capital, sharing his experience of 25 years in the markets, options and futures trading, index, dollar, covered it all. Greg, thanks a lot. Pleasure having you on the show. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me, Joel. It was fun again.